I'm Patrick Watson, I'm an astrologer, and you're watching Big Fat Astro Vlog live. And today I'm going to be talking about Venus Retrograde, what Venus Retrograde means for you in October 2018 if you are a Sagittarius Rising. So let's begin. So Venus retrograde brings things together, right? I mean, Venus just brings things together. Venus is known as a planet of beauty and love and romance and all that sort of thing, and that's true. You know, and Venus goes direct most of the time, so that's sort of what we, that's when Venus acts as we sort of typically expect. But when Venus goes retrograde, which it does 5 times every 8 years, making it the rarest retrograde, and appears to go backward through the skies, it passes between our planet and the Earth. Venus acts a little differently than we would expect. So, for example, Venus acting as we would expect would be Venus brings 2 people together and they are in a committed relationship. Well, Venus retrograde would maybe, you know, add another person into the equation. You know, so Venus is often retrograde when, like, there are big scandals about affairs and cheating and that sort of things. There are violations of social boundaries, because Venus is not just beauty and love and romance, but also the things that we hold dear, the things that are sacred to us, the social boundaries, social bonds, social agreements that kind of make, you know, societies work and make things nicer and pleasant for people. So that is what kind of Venus means on a sort of a broad scale. But for you specifically as Sagittarius Rising, it has 2 main roles in your chart, depending on what signs rising. So for you, since you have Sagittarius rising, Libra is a sign that Venus rules, as well as Taurus is another sign that Venus rules, right here. So Venus has these kind of overarching themes, but it also has this specific role in your chart. It rules your 11th house, which is about gifts, awards, contacts, networks, alliances, friends, but of a more professional context and connotation, since it's close to the 10th of career, you know, as opposed to the 3rd house, which is about friends, but more like personal friends and friends of the family, because it's close to the 4th house of family. So Venus rules your 11th, and it also rules your 6th, which is about work, service, the ways in which you are of service to someone, as well as the ways in which someone is of service to you. It's like employees or that kind of thing, as well as injuries and illnesses, which is kind of an interesting one. So Venus actually speaks for both of these topics in your chart, and as we can see, they're kind of slightly related. I mean, this, you know, on the one hand, we have professional references and friends in high places, as well as this idea of work and responsibilities and services. So, I mean, I would say that, you know, together, Venus for you is much more about I guess your co-workers and the ways in which you know you can be helped and the ways which you get ahead as a result of your friendships and social connections. So with Venus going retrograde in the 12th for you, the house of enemies and rivalries and weaknesses and vulnerabilities and that sort of thing, I mean, this would say to me that conditions, especially improper or scandalous conditions at work and amongst your friends, create opportunities for scandal for you and being in a vulnerable position because of Venus's transit through your 12th. Now, I realize I'm talking about millions of people who have you know, Sagittarius rising and experiencing this Venus Scorpio transit, but you know, people with Venus just in their 12th natally tend to get in trouble as a result of you know, kind of things they've done sexually that they may have they may be looked down upon later for doing. This is going really well. I'm not saying you're going to be doing sex crimes or something, but I think that there's maybe it could be you know, old past lovers, you know, but who have become a problem for you, who end up costing you perhaps at work or amongst your friends and your sort of professional reputation and that kind of thing. So I guess you just got to be careful during this particular Venus retrograde of you know, people who have it out for you, people who are not necessarily your friends, causing trouble with your friends. Or, I mean, that could also be co-workers becoming more enemies of you, especially due to something that is slightly scandalous in nature, something that could, bring you down in a sense, since, the 12th is this place of weakness. But, at the same time, Jupiter is in your 12th as well. Sometimes that can be like mercy and forgiveness from your enemies. So it just depends. I mean, you have to look at the aspects that Venus makes to other planets, and especially if you have any planets in Scorpio. Those planets are going to be kind of in effect like scandalized by whatever Venus touches. If you want to have another idea of what this transit might mean for you, you can go back every 8 years. Venus is in the same part of the zodiac. So if you go back 8 years to October of 2010, Venus is going retrograde in Scorpio. And if you go 8 years before that, in 2002, Venus is retrograde in Scorpio. If you go 8 years before that, in 1994, Venus is retrograde in Scorpio. So, however old you are, you can look back at these previous times that Venus is retrograde in Scorpio and see if there are any of these themes which tend to repeat. And I would say that they would have to do with this notion of professional associations and contacts, these professional alliances, as well as your duties and your work and service. So let me know in the comments if you can. I know sometimes these transits can be fairly personal, but if you would like to leave your Venus retrograde story in the comments, please do. I love reading these stories, and they're usually pretty juicy. So good luck with this Venus retrograde in Scorpio, and dot your I's and cross your T's and all that good stuff. Okay, all right, I'll see you next time. Bye.